Hope for unbanked Nigerian population as federal government unveils a roadmap for inclusion.
A significant segment of our populace lacks access to a diverse array of affordable financial services.
Nigeria makes move to create 2.5 million decent jobs annually.
Minister of Interior visits Suleja Custodial Center, vows authorities will recapture escapees.
Presently ongoing. We will do everything humanly possible to make sure that everyone is brought back.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss reducing malaria burden.
And the conversation continues. Guess what? On what? Malaria. And it seems that the hope of the global community is that it ends. But because it is a major public health problem in Nigeria, conversation on malaria will continue. It is the highest burden, not just across the world, with nearly 27% of global burden, but of course here in Nigeria. Absolutely. It is a major health concern, absolutely, public health concern.
And one would assume that the fear of malaria will be the beginning of wisdom. But it seems that it is not the case. Now, fear of malaria in parts of the country, because where malaria control is concerned, records show that nearly half of the world's population is at risk of the disease, with about 200 million cases reported in 2021.
And it gets worse, even with, 4 countries, Nigeria inclusive, just to mention others, Democratic Republic of Congo, Tanzania, and Niger. These countries account for over half of all malaria deaths across the world.
Well, the reasons are not far-fetched. Experts say certain conditions allow mosquitoes to thrive, and unfortunately, Nigeria is an enabler due to environmental inhibitions. But apart from the disease mostly found in tropical countries like ours and transmitted to humans by the female Anopheles mosquito, the lack of environmental management leaves little to be desired, resulting in the high incidence rate of malaria in the country.
Victor, I'm just amused why it's the female, Anopheles mosquito that is associated with the deadly.
Because the males we don't look for trouble.
The males don't look for trouble.
We're gentle. Even in mosquitoes, we're gentle.
Anyway, so you now know that it's the female Anopheles mosquito that's the carrier. But of course, apart from the factors that Victor raised, we know of refuse dumps here and there, blocked, drainages, lack of access to protective measures, and of course weak health systems across the country. Now, the breeding sites for malaria, of course, we know are blocked drainages. This is where they breed, and across the country, especially in the slums, they are never in lack. And opinion is that such factors again as poverty, make malaria what they say poverty, the disease of the poor. But of course, that opinion is subjective. And also subjective is the attitude, of community towards prevention and, streamlining transmission and making preventive measures, accessible and all that. But of course, the Nigerian government in recent times have been in the business of intervention, most targeted at the children.
Yeah, and then the bed nets campaign and the approval of the R21 vaccine by World Health Organization and the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control is one step in this direction. Now, study shows the R21 is 77% effective when administered to children from 5 months to 36 months, reducing the burden of malaria mortality.
Victor, remember, I don't know if you would recall, in those days we used to have the Sunday malaria, preventive tablets, and our parents used to give this, to us for preventive, purposes, and that very bitter taste, liquid. I don't want it. That's dreaded, quinine.
I think it's adjusted a bit.
Quinine.
No,
So
you have them tasteless, perhaps.
Yeah, and in the past, you also see, health workers going about in the rural communities distributing insecticide-treated bed nets. But there were issues with those, bed nets coming from those who use them, complaints from those who use them. So I don't know what happened, but malaria has continued to endanger lives, not just adults, but also children, and children are the worst hit. And even in countries, the malaria strategic plan. Okay, let's talk about Nigeria's strategic plan now. That's the plan between 2021 and 2025. It's based on a researched model which Nigeria needs to implement more effectively. And this year being the World Malaria Day, which of course we are celebrating, the theme is accelerating the fight against malaria for a more equitable world. And the theme today, we will be looking at reducing the burden of malaria. And well, not just reducing the burden of malaria, we have been reducing the burden of malaria, but of course ending malaria for good without excuses. That's what we want to do. That's why we're bringing it to you on Good Morning Nigeria. I am Claire Adilabu Abdul Razak. No woman is, I am harmless, and Victor knows that. So don't worry that the Anopheles mosquito is harmful. Women are gentle and they make your day. So good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program. Victor, I know you will agree with me. I know you will. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble when you get home.
The facts speak for themselves.
Well,
I'm Victor as well.
I hope Musa will agree with me.
Good Morning Nigeria is broadcast live on the network service of the NTA. In a moment, we will begin with highlights of the morning news. A much later newspaper review. Let's now join Musa Abubakar for highlights of the morning news.
Hello, Musa. Agree with me.
Maybe I'll go with Claire for now. Well, hello, Claire and Victor. Good morning and welcome to the news. President Bola Tinubu is once more assuring the international community that Nigeria is well positioned to power the clean energy future of Europe and the world with the high-grade lithium deposits in Nigeria. The president made the commitment in his bilateral conversation with Prime Minister Mark Rutte on his state visit to the Netherlands.
So what we need is increasing yield per space. So increasing yield, and that's technology. Good seeds, good fertilization, good cultivation, and good harvest.
The Netherlands has a program that is focused on providing scholarship opportunities for young people in specific sectors, especially in the technological space. So we're looking to work together.
As part of measures to tackle poverty and insecurity, the federal government is engaging stakeholders to unveil a roadmap for integrating unbanked Nigerian population into the formal financial system. The two-day workshop, declared open by Vice President Kashim Shettima, aims at sensitizing stakeholders and chart a course for accelerating financial inclusion.
A significant segment of our populace lacks access to a diverse array of affordable financial services. We are also aware that a fundamental driver of this disparity is the pervasive issue of low income. This poses a threat to the security and stability of the nation.
Security agencies have intensified manhunt for 109 inmates of the Suleja Custodial Center who escaped on Wednesday night following heavy rains that brought down its perimeter fence. Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, who gave the directive on a visit to the facility, also vowed to ensure there is no recurrence.
The manhunt is presently ongoing. We will do everything humanly possible to make sure that everyone is brought back.
Now, the organized labor is gunning for a 615,000 national minimum wage as it pushes the National Minimum Wage Committee to fast-track conclusion of the process. President Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Festus Osifo, revealed this to newsmen after the union's National Executive Council meeting in Abuja.
If the purchasing power parity is relatively low, what is going to happen is that the manufacturers will produce their goods and they will keep it in the shelf because there wouldn't be patronage from the people. So we demand that the Committee on Minimum Wage should hasten their activities, release the payment of wage award for March 2024 and April 2024.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Labour and Employment has commenced engagement with development finance institutions to create 2.5 million decent jobs for Nigerians annually. It was at the unveiling of the ministry's renewed Hope Empowerment Program, where the Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Keruka Oyejiocha, was emphatic on eradication of poverty in the next 4 years.
Ministry. Number one is to make sure that poverty is reduced, if not completely eradicated. I dream that under our watch with your support, that it's possible to eradicate poverty. Then also to create employment. Job creation is very key.
Well, in an effort to achieve global health equity in Nigeria, in collaboration with the World Health Organization and other partners, Nigeria has intensified efforts to combat malaria within its borders. This was brought to the fore as the country celebrates its 24th World Malaria Day with a theme, accelerating the fight against malaria for a more equitable world.
Now we have what we call the perfect storm that is facing also resistance.
We are working to empower every person, community, and country to be an equal, valued, and essential partner in the fight against malaria.
Well, and those are the news highlights for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Victor and Claire after this break.